a big part of her legacy as well. So, okay, let's just, oh, and then the other thing with Diane too is famously she never got married. And that also was something that felt rebellious and felt like she was going against the expectations and what most other women around her were doing, which was getting married. And she said that she never got married because she just never wanted to be a wife. It was like as simple as that. She ended up adopting 2 kids. So she became a mother, but she never felt pulled towards something like marriage. And she said one day in high school, a guy came up to her and said, one day you're going to make a good wife. And she thought, I don't want to be a wife. And so I think just kind of that message for women that Diane Keaton exemplified, which is like, you don't have to be married. You don't have to be a wife. And there were roles that she played throughout her career that were characters who kind of that was a part of their a characteristic, and just women being in a man's world, that kind of thing. But yeah, so Diane, fashion, her many film roles. She was also director. Her very intentionally never getting married. Just all that plus more, which we'll get into. So here's the thing. She was the original She was the manic pixie dream girl before it became a trope. Annie Hall, the character of Annie Hall, is where the manic pixie dream girl trope comes from. But with Annie Hall, it worked. And it worked because of Diane Keaton. And it worked because it was not at that point one of kind of the more annoying tropes. She was Annie Hall, and Annie Hall was Diane Keaton. And if you don't know, Diane Keaton's original name is Diane Hall, but she changed it because someone in her acting school had the same last name. So she changed it to Diane Keaton. And then another funny story, Michael Douglas, not the Michael Douglas who's married to Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Douglas changed his last name, inspired by Diane Keaton changing her last name, and he picked Keaton. So Michael Keaton, the actor, who's originally named Michael Douglas, not other Michael Douglas, who changed his name because he was inspired by Diane Hall, who became Diane Keaton. And Diane Hall's nickname was Annie. So that is where Annie Hall comes from. Annie Hall was a character that was written based on Diane Keaton, and it was obviously written for her. And when right now, a lot of people are, of course, talking about Diane Keaton's life, and you can't talk about Diane Keaton's life and career without talking about Annie Hall. You don't have to think it's her best role. You don't have to think it certainly was not her. It was far from being her only defining performance, but it's very crucial to Diane Keaton's life, both her personal life, both her professional life. And unfortunately, for better or for worse, Diane Keaton's legacy is wrapped up with Woody Allen. And so we are going to have to talk about that. We can't talk about Diane Keaton's life and career without mentioning Woody. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. And the reason I say for better or for worse, I think the worse is obvious. I think the for worse is obvious. But the for better is because Diane became a movie star. She became a household name because of Annie Hall. Annie Hall is the film. It's not her first film. She did Godfather and Godfather 2 before she did Annie Hall. But it is a role that defined her, that gave her movie star status. She herself has said that her favorite role and the film that meant everything to her was Annie Hall. It was the beginning of the collaboration, the film collaboration that she had with Woody Allen when she was still coming up and she was doing she was doing plays. She was working in the theater. She did a Woody Allen play. That was how they first met and started collabing. But it was Annie Hall that was the beginning of their very famous film collab. The collaboration between the two of them. And unfortunately, yeah, she was his muse. Diane Keaton was Woody Allen's muse. And unfortunately, Diane Keaton still stood by Woody Allen, maintained his innocence. They were still very close. This is not to defend her at all. But I think a reason that Diane always stood by him is because she felt like she owed her career to him. In interviews, in her memoir, she's talked about how were it not for Woody Allen, that she wouldn't have had the career that she had, which to me is sad because it means that she didn't see fully, I think, that it's her talent. Like Annie Hall, there would be no Annie Hall without Diane Keaton. There is no Annie Hall without Diane Keaton. Annie Hall, that is considered to be when Woody Allen finally found his voice as a creative, and then that led to that era of his career. So it was a major film in his canon, but there is no Annie Hall without Diane Keaton. However, over the years, and because of how defining that moment was for her, and because of how many films she went on to make with Woody, she really felt like she owed him everything. And so I have to believe that that is what clouded her view towards him. And as I said, it's not something I'm going to sit here and defend. It is one of those damn, I wish things had been different. I do. It is hard when looking back on someone who was as iconic and deserves her fucking flowers. And absolutely, all her work and the influence that she had bears mentioning here. But it's tough because a lot of Diane's career was wrapped up with Woody. And of course it was when they first met and started collabing, it was decades before Dylan Farrow accused Woody of sexual abuse. But it is just so it's just one of those things where I can't change Diane Keaton's reverence of Woody Allen. She never, to my understanding, ever said anything that was not in support of him. The possible reckoning film people are going to have once Alan passes and can talk about his work without the active caveat of he shouldn't still be working fascinates me. So influential and important to the American canon. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a person who thinks like you should not mention somebody's work or mention their influence just because they have serious allegations against them or because, there's this other major part of their life that is really, really unfortunate. Someone will get AI Diane to speak on it. Yeah, somebody get AI Diane to speak on Woody Allen. I'm sure they're already cooking it up now. The counter that is Keaton would have never had the opportunity for that screen time otherwise. Well, it's tough because don't forget that Diane Keaton is a very important part of Godfather. Even though she's playing she's supposed to play this vanilla character, kind of the outsider looking into Michael's world. Kay is a crucial part of that trilogy, and especially the final shot of her. The final scene in The Godfather is one of the most it's one of the most crucial film moments ever. It is a critical moment of that entire trilogy. And she did that work before she did Annie Hall. So it's tough because do I think Diane Keaton would have had a career without Woody Allen? Yes. But do I also recognize that like her playing the titular character in Annie Hall and then what that led to in her career was massive? Yeah, and we don't know what Diane Keaton's career would have looked like without the inclusion of Annie Hall and then everything that came afterwards. Because that is just that was what happened. She followed it with Interiors of Manhattan. Right. So I think Diane was such a singular talent that I want to believe that she would have still had an amazing career, but also I don't know. I don't know. And we'll never know because you can't go back and change the past. And because Annie Hall really was such a breakthrough. It was such a breakthrough moment for her. And then that same year she did the film Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which I would say that's a tricky one in her oeuvre. I think that film's kind of controversial. And I think the kind of 70s messaging of like, ooh, sexual freedom could lead to you being murdered, ladies. It's not very modern, but I think those roles back to back, her in Annie Hall and then in Goodbar, I think that really showed her versatility. I don't think anybody else besides Diane Keaton in the same year in 1977, to be specific, could have shown such versatility that way, to just be in two completely opposite films and showing that she's not just an actress with capabilities for drama. She's not just an actress with capabilities for comedy. She has range, baby. She can do it all. And Diane always talked about how she never wanted to be an actress where you could put her in any type of typecast, any type of box. That there's a difference between being someone like her who felt so like warm and relatable and accessible in the films that she was in. There's a difference between that and then an actress who just kind of delivers the same type of role every time. She didn't want to be predictable. She didn't want her career to look any one specific way. Do you think she succeeded not being typecast? For sure. I think she was one of the most versatile actresses that we had. Whether she was doing comedies, whether she was doing romantic comedies, whether she was doing dramas, in the 90s and 2000s is when she started really playing, kind of maturing as an actress and playing older roles. And that's where like Father of the Bride and Something's Gotta Give, that whole era began. Okay, so let's get into just watching clips and talking more about Diane Keaton.
Oh, no. Is this the best they could offer? Oh, geez, I'd hope for something with at least decent features.
In the last 4 decades, Diane Keaton has played quirky, outsider, radical, harried, maternal, independent.
You're an incredibly complex woman.
I guess you could say I'm half saint, half whore.
Infusing every character with a lot of Diane Keaton.
You play very well.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a...
Body. Maybe it is that I'm actually dying. So that's the thing, too, because your brain is just producing all of these options, all these different reasons that this could be happening. I have BPD, and permanent anxiety type feelings can really fuck with your physical health. Well, that's the other thing too, is like you go, okay, I know this is psychosomatic, but it actually it really can affect your physical health, not in the way that you think it is. Not that like, okay, you're dying or that you have cancer or all these other things your brain is producing, but the constant loop or just the heightened state of panic that you're in can physically affect you. So then that only reinforces too. It reinforces this idea that something is seriously wrong. You know how they say stress is bad for your body, right? Even just a normal amounts of stress. You're like, okay, you should try to meditate and calm down, because it really is. It is bad for your bodies. It's like when you're doom scrolling for too long and all you're seeing are horrible things on the internet and you feel physically bad. Like you feel awful. And it's okay, you need to take a break, go touch some grass, get off the internet, because it can physically affect you. You know, the mental, your deteriorating mental can affect you physically. When you Google your symptoms, yeah, she said there's good and bad to it, because if you Google it, you can go, oh, okay, I don't have that, I'm not dying. But then you can go down then you can find 10 other rabbit holes. Then suddenly you're thinking about things that you've never thought about before. WebMD is the worst thing for somebody with OCD, who's a hypochondriac. If you have an anxiety disorder, WebMD, it can be a nightmare place. It's like the worst thing that you can do. I'm realizing I maybe need to stop Googling symptoms in myself and my pets. Yeah, because you Google something and then suddenly you're like, oh my God, I have this thing that I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't even know this existed. But I ended up here because I started Googling on the internet, and now I'm diagnosing myself with, and now I have like a day to live. So stay away from WebMD. Just in general, I think, stay away. So, in conclusion, I had a really great time. I hope Cutie managed to have a little bit of fun. I guess not many people can say I went to see Chapel. I went to see Chapel and then I went to the ER afterwards, you know, just another Friday night. It's like, yep, went to Chapel. Then I went to the emergency room and it's all good. It's all good. Errol, thank you for the 37 months. Deanie, thank you for the bits. It was a memorable night. Yeah. Okay. All right. So would love to see her again. Absolutely would love to see her Chapel again. If I have the opportunity to. It was she's just great. I love her so much. Speaking of the gays, he made his translator translate that line. It's pretty iconic. All right, y'all. So here is the plan for tonight. I talked about the Chapel Roan concert. Cutie Cinderella made it through. Check that off the list. We are going to discuss Diane Keaton next. And then after that, we've got some Little Nightmares 3, which I'm very excited for. So today was a day that we lost yet another icon, cinema icon of the 70s. We've just been losing a lot of the greats, you know, a lot of the people who came up in the new Hollywood era of the 70s. And every single time I see this news like this, I go, you know, if there's a God out there and they so many other options, there are so many other options who people would not be devastated to see the announcement of their passing. And anyway, it was the first thing I saw when I woke up. I woke up this morning. I opened Twitter. The first thing I saw was Diane Keaton dead at 79. And I genuinely gasped. I went, and I turned to Will and I went, oh my God, Diane Keaton died. And he went, and he also was in shock. And I think the reason that a lot of people have, couple reasons that a lot of people have felt that this is very jarring. It seemed to come out of nowhere, truly nowhere. Diane Keaton, to my understanding, was just on Graham Norton 2 weeks ago. And she looked fabulous. She was having a drink. She was talking about upcoming projects. There was nothing that indicated, and again, you never know what's happening in someone's private life, which is why we never like to assume. If you see a celebrity who's lost a lot of weight, don't be like, eating disorder much, because they might have cancer and then they might die from that. And then we still never learn our lessons. But you know, it's you never know what's happening in someone's private life, whether it's a celebrity or just normal person. But I think too, because 79 doesn't really feel that old, you know, like maybe back when you were a kid and if you lost a grandparent and your grandparent was 79, you're like, oh, that seems pretty old. But for me, being my age now, 79 feels like you still have so much life left. And I think it's harder as my parents get closer to that age. And I go, oh my God. Like Diane Keaton was like 10 years older than my dad. So young. Because I still look at my parents. I'm like, you guys are so young. You have forever. Gucci Rena, thank you for the gifted whispers. Thank you for the 8 months. And my mom, who's very dramatic. That's where I get it from. The last couple times I've talked to my mom, she's been dealing with a meniscus tear, and she's been just not able to do her pickleball and all the things she likes to do. So she's been having to sit a lot. And so she calls me and she's like, yeah, I was thinking about it. And let's see, my dad died at 70 and my mom died at 75. So if I, average it out, but give myself a couple extra years, I probably have like maybe 15 years left. And she just says it so like that. I'm like, Mom, stop. She's like, oh, I'm just kidding. But she said this to me now 3 times. And I'm like, why do you keep saying this? Why do you keep talking like you've calculated out how long you have left? Classic mom shit. Truly classic mom shit. A college sports legend, Sister Jean, just died at 106. That's incredible. 106. Incredible. So my mom keeps saying this. And then, I don't know. So it's like thinking about that and telling my mom, you got to stop. You got to chill out. And then Diane Keaton dying at 79. And Diane Keaton, there was something about her that always reminded me of my mom. And I think maybe a lot of people felt that way because Diane Keaton was a performer who felt so relatable without being any type of cookie cutter, run of the mill actress. Truly a singular talent. No one could ever will be able to replicate Diane Keaton. She really was the subject. She created her own image, and she was she was just one of a kind. And I know I use this word all the time. But maybe I use it a lot in recent times because we are losing so many of the greats because they're reaching that age, I guess. But Diane Keaton was an icon. She was an icon. We will talk about her. We will talk about her film career. We will talk about her fashion. But it's like we just lost Robert Redford, another icon, another new Hollywood just legend, someone who was also just an indelible talent, had a just incredible sense of style. So having lost Robert Redford and now seeing the news of Diane Keaton, and we really are losing a lot of icons. And I don't think I'm using that word too liberally because I think looking at all these great artists who came from that 70s era and how now, they're all 80, like around 80 plus, and we're just going to be losing more of them. And so I guess to that I say I will be here to inform you about why they were so iconic and the impact that they had on the film industry and on culture and the lasting legacy that they leave behind. But yeah, so Diane, there were just things about her that always reminded me of my mom. And I remember like seeing her wearing suits because Diane Keaton loved suits. She was a person who was very, she was opposed to dressing in a way that at all felt for the male gaze. And she really was unique in her style. And that played in the characters that she portrayed, including Annie Hall, which we'll talk about. So throughout Diane's career, you could see like how characters she played and the fashion of those characters was pulled from her own life, and just how she was always wearing fits on a carpet, always wearing fits. She was known for her hats, her big hats, or, just tailored suits, big belts. There is a style very much associated with Diane Keaton that goes all the way back to Annie Hall in the 70s. And so my mom is also a person who loves suits. My mom loves dressing. Loves dressing in ways that like would have been deemed masculine, to kind of be rebellious in having a sense of rebellion in your fashion, especially for women. Especially for women, a suit. And Diane used to wear a full suit. She would love the tie, whole thing. For women, that was something that could be used as a way to be, to be a little radical, to be a little rebellious. So Diane, my mother, these are two women who their love of men's fashion and then claiming that for themselves was something that had an effect on me. And I've always loved suits. When I was in high school, I'd wear a suit any chance I could get. And that was directly, so as I said, that was directly influenced from both Diane Keaton and my own mother. But anyway, so Diane's fashion is a big part of her, is.
Oh yeah, sure. I thought you were a good anchor.
You did?
I did.
How about, though, the way I delivered the lines, though? A little dicey, because, I lead with my personality, Diane's personality, and I feel like it's okay for me to have the run on, in life, Diane. But you can't do that with what you do. You cannot.
So I don't have to worry about you
kind
of being on my heels?
No, I'm not. I can't do it.
Of course not, because the only thing she's really ever wanted to do is sing.
I wanted to sing. I thought I was going to be a singer. And I did everything I could to be a singer.
This is the dawning of the age of...
And sing she did, on Broadway no less, in the musical Hair. She was 22.
Singing.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? She started off in Hair. She wanted to be a singer. She wanted to perform in like musicals. Sound familiar? Annie Hall. So much of, obviously, Annie Hall is based directly on Diane's own life. But she just, apparently that was like not in the cards for her. I guess she was not succeeding pursuing that path until it's crazy because she had a wonderful voice, like the scene from Annie Hall when she's singing that I have pulled on the playlist. But yeah, I don't know. I guess they're like, look, lady, we don't want you to be a singer, but you are going to be one of the greatest actresses of all time.
And
do you have a good voice, by the way?
Oh yeah, it's great. No, of course not.
Well, it must be pretty good if you had fantasies of becoming a singer.
I had tons of fantasies. Oh yeah, tons of fantasies. I did have a little solo, and my song was Black Boys Are Delicious. Black boys are delicious, chocolate-flavored treats, licorice lips like candy, keep my cocoa handy. So that's what I sang. I don't think I'm going to get any jobs
from Hair
anytime soon.
Do you guys know Hair?
I still have aspirations.
Really?
Yeah. Do you think I have a chance?
I don't know, but I think being
Can
able
I try
to sing,
again?
Yeah,
Give
go
me
ahead.
a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hair is a rock musical. Here, let me just show you. You might not know the actual musical itself, but I feel like the look of Hair it's like the hippie 60s musical that dealt with a group of hippies who were against the war in Vietnam, and several of the songs from the musical became anthems of the Vietnam War movement. It's a musical that's been often depicted throughout pop culture. The 40-year-old virgin ends with a parody of Hair. Exactly. So, yeah, you might not know Hair, but you might see this and go, oh, it's like the 60s hippie musical. Yes, that is Hair. So that is what Diane Keaton started off in. And, and yeah, so it's a musical. I don't even know the last time that it's been on Broadway, but it's a musical that has rock songs. It's an anti-Vietnam thing. You know, this group of friends who are like trying to get out of the draft. It was on in 2015.
Knock yourself out, Diane.
And then they have a film version of it as well.
Somebody's watching.
Oh my God. Yeah, somewhere.
At the time, someone was watching. Woody Allen. Allen and Keaton would go on to form one of the great on-screen, off-screen partnerships of the 1970s. But first, Keaton would have to measure up, literally.
I had a huge crush on Woody right from the moment I saw him. I was auditioning for Play It Again, Sam, and he was 5'7". You know, he was a relatively short, he is a relatively short fellow. So they put his head down and they measured us. And I got the part because I wasn't taller than he was. So, you know, this is like the way it began. And he was hilarious.
Now come near me, I'm warning you. He gets it right between the eyes.
He'll do it. He'll do it. I've seen him shoot a nose.
And in Keaton, Woody Allen had found his foil.
Sucker.
Yeah, it is a bummer that Woody outlived her. It's crazy. He's like in his late 80s. I just feels like a sick joke.
You don't realize that you've been dealing with one of the greatest minds you've ever seen.
Yeah, and his isn't so bad either.
Yeah.
Take 1973's Sleeper.
I just liked being his stupid sidekick. I loved it. He would say things like, you can't even do a joke. And he's right. So he was very smart about it. And he would like have me set up the joke for him. That's what I'm good at, being the idiot.
Diane Keaton is the master of self-deprecation. But in truth, she's not unlike her character in Something's Gotta Give.
You're a tower of strength.
Oh.
I mean, I told y'all it's a bit complicated. Diane Keaton is also not the only person in Hollywood who still stands by Woody, because that it's one of those things where over the years, some people who have worked with him have said, I regret working with him. I believe I believe Dylan Farrow. I'm sorry. Like, there are people who've worked with him who have donated fee. Like, I think Timothée Chalamet donated his fee from the film he did with him to a nonprofit that helps survivors. And then there are others who are like, Woody Allen has said he's innocent. He was never found guilty in a court of law. I support him. So there are more people than just Diane Keaton who still stand by Woody Allen. But with Diane in particular, because of their decades long relationship and her being his muse and her believing that like she owes her career to her work with Woody Allen. I don't know. I mean, she always maintained that he was her friend and that she believed him. And it's one of those things where you can't talk about Diane Keaton's career without Woody Allen coming up.
She's lived life on her own terms. She's always worked, never married, and didn't start a family until she turned 50.
You know, I'm a late developer.
Keaton says her mother, Dorothy, who died in 2008, encouraged her daughter to just be herself and go for it. It was unexpected guidance from a woman who represented domestic perfection.
My mother was Mrs. Los Angeles.
I know, and Mrs. Highland Park before
yeah,
that,
we can't
right?
forget that. I mean, that's a very moving thing.
Your life is in such stark contrast to your mom's, who was sort of a domestic goddess, if you will.
She was the kind of mother who was the great enabler. And she was always supporting me, every single thing that I ever did. I mean, we were partners.
If Keaton's mom thought her eldest daughter ought to be in pictures, not everyone agreed.
I would always fail because they would always say to me, "You're too kooky." And so you don't get the part because you're too kooky.
Where
and
did they
then
get
to
that
be
idea?
Because I was a little off center. Oh, you're making fun. That's really not nice.
Just kidding.
Anyway, of course, just kidding.
Then in 1972, The Godfather happened.
Michael, that man over there is talking to himself.
I felt I was miscast.
This one time, I'll let you ask me about my affairs.
Well, when you watched that movie, or when you watched it initially, did you still feel that way?
There's the only thing I thought about when I saw Me, not the movie. The movie is absolutely brilliant. Was the wig is horrible.
What was it like working with Al Pacino? Because you guys were involved in a
Obviously,
relationship.
Hello. No, not then.
Not then?
No, but I would have liked it. I'll be frank. I mean, he was beautiful and so talented, and oh my God, yeah, I had a big crush.
Things didn't heat up for them romantically until after The Godfather Part 2, but they proved to be two very different people.
Al
was more of a real actor, kind of really about acting, always. Al was the kind of guy that if you're around him, he'd read Shakespeare. Get it? Like
Here, I have to read the letter that Al Pacino, the love letter that he wrote to her. A handwritten letter from December 1989. Dear Di, I am feeling uncomfortably lonely more than I have in many, many moons. I don't know why this is so. It's perhaps being in a foreign country and not being able to speak the language. You could say that's one of the reasons. But mainly it's being away from you and what we have together. As I'm writing this letter, I'm sitting in an outside cafe in Rome. It's pouring rain. I'm looking onto a beautiful square with a church, talking to myself. I've got my hands folded as if in prayer, but in the middle of my hands is a little tape recorder. So it looks like I'm talking to my fingers. That's the way it looks. If only I could dictate this letter without moving my lips, just trying to tell you, I miss you, darling, in a sort of roundabout way, it seems. I will get back to you. Love, Al. Was Al Pacino a real yearner? It seems like he was a real yearner for Diane Keaton. So Diane had a couple of like high profile hot relationships, one with Al Pacino, another one with Warren Beatty, who she ended up doing. They did the film Red together, which we will talk about. That was a film from 1981 that Warren Beatty directed and then starred with her as well. It's like a 3-hour and 20-minute film where they play. So it's based on the life of Louise Bryant, who was a feminist writer and activist, and then John Jack Reed, who was a communist activist and also a writer. And so it's about their life and their romance. They were married. So she had a relationship with Warren Beatty as well. They also got Jack Nicholson and Gene Hackman in that. Yeah.
He's doing The Merchant of Venice. I mean, hello? I couldn't stand doing anything like that ever.
Really?
Are you kidding? Night after night, doing a play? I'd rather, it's like my idea of hell.
Keaton appreciates the many chances movie making gives her. And Warren Beatty, another longtime love, taught her you can never do too many takes when they starred in the movie Reds nearly 30 years ago.
I don't know if you ever saw that train station scene, but we must have done that 64 times, and I only got it on the last take. So my feeling about a lot of takes is count me in, because maybe you're going to save me, you know?
What is your relationship like with these people now, Diana? You know, do they stay in your life? Do you have friendships with these guys?
Some. Woody is a friend. He's a friend. I saw him last night here in New York. I don't really see Al. I don't see Warren, but I have great memories of them, and it's fun to see Warren as a father and Al as well. Both people that you never thought of as parents are now parents,
and you, of course, are a mom now too. You have 2 kids, Dexter and Duke, right?
Right.
You adopted your first child when you were 50. What motivated you to do that at that point in your life?
Well, it had a lot to do with my father's passing, because I think, quite frankly, that I liked being a daughter. I really enjoy being a daughter. I don't think I wanted to be somebody who could take those, parenthood on until I had to accept that I had to move on.
Why do you think you never got married?
I think that the reason I didn't get married was because I would have to compromise too much. I think I took my cue from my mother there. I didn't want to have that. I wanted to try more adventurous things for myself, and I think that I didn't know how, and I was also afraid of men.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was afraid of men, yes. I was always being turned down or overlooked, and I saw myself as kind of a victim in that area. Yeah, it was hard for me to kind of compromise. I think I wasn't really marriage material.
Do you regret that?
Yeah, in some ways I do.
Today, at 64, Diane Keaton's life is full of work, family, friends, all lovingly draped in her nonstop stream of consciousness and her own inimitable charm.
Why would you ask that? Because, okay, you have to understand that an actress as high profile, as famous as Diane Keaton, who engaged in relationships with other famous men like Woody Allen, Warren Beatty, Al Pacino, and never getting married was like unthinkable. This is somebody who emerged in the 70s, right? When she became a household name, was in an era where like it very much was it's 2025 and women are still expected to become wives and mothers. So that part of society has not changed with all the progress that we've had. So her choosing to not ever get married and being open about that was always this like act of rebellion. It was always seen as an act of rebellion. And then her fashion style and just how singular of a presence that she was made up like the whole package of Diane Keaton. And so I've been thinking a lot too about like her life and her career, and humans are full of contradictions. And Diane was somebody who I think was equally, she was confident. She was always herself. Like that was a big thing about her, is that Diane was an icon because she was herself, and just the impact that had on her performances and just how people, how people knew Diane Keaton. But also I think she was somebody who was insecure. I think she had, I think she dealt with that like a lot of people do. And it's why, I'm not excusing her friendship with Woody Allen. And I have to keep mentioning this because this, as I said, for better or worse, is very much a part of her life and career. But I do believe that like she maybe never understood that it was her talent that got her to where she was. And It was not being Woody Allen's muse. It was not. She felt like she owed him everything. And I think that takes away from how good she was, is what I'm trying to explain. And I think, starting off and how she wanted to be a singer and then she never got to be a singer, and just how she was always kind of on her own island, and her style in Annie Hall had such an enormous influence on the 70s, where like a lot of women started dressing like Annie Hall, and it just became she just became very influential. But I think also like she didn't fit the mold for what a Hollywood starlet should look like and should be like. She didn't have, she didn't get married. She didn't look like an ingenue in the kind of traditional sense. She really was somebody. She really was someone who kind of defied expectations in a lot of ways.
You still seem to have that insecurity thing.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Unsure of your.
Okay, literally.
You still seem to have that insecurity thing and unsure of yourself.
Yeah, it's in there. It's the DNA. But I'm going to fight it. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try as many things as I possibly can, except for flying. I don't want to fly. I talk to the pilots. They all look at me like I'm crazy. But I think they're crazy. So how do you like that? I don't want to fly. I want to be adventurous, but I don't want to fly.
Are you okay?
No, I'm obviously not. I think I need to sleep. Somebody's got to put me down. Put her down.
I know you're going.
All right, and then here's Diane.
I mean,
Keaton
it occurred to me
talking about
from
motherhood
age
more.
39 on, and why it occurred to me that late is already a problem. I mean, I wish that it had occurred to me when I was like 25, but I came to it when I came to it. And look, I was a slow developer.
Do you like being a mother?
I love it, sure.
You do. What do you think surprised you most about motherhood?
The thing that has surprised me the most about it is the fact that that baby is truly amazing. And I think all parents must know this. They're more than anything you can imagine.
Why do you think you've never married?
I think that I never married because I didn't want to get married. I didn't choose to get married. I
didn't need to get married.
And the people that I was with, it was best that we were not married. I think I did the right thing. I don't think we would have been very happy together.
Now that you have your daughter, do you feel more of a compunction to want to get married? Or do you think it's necessary?
Well, no, I don't think it's necessary. But ideally, sure. I think that a daughter should have a father in a perfect world. I mean, I think it's...
But see, like, even just this emphasis, people were always asking her, why aren't you married? Or do you want to get married? Do you think about that? This was like a part of Diane Keaton's identity and how people knew her as like counterculture, just in being herself and in not adhering to expectations. She became a mom at 50, right? She adopted 2 kids at 50 years old, and she never got married. And that's just not something that was common then or is common now. And so that was a part of that was just it in trying to explain Diane Keaton. And we haven't even gotten into really her acting work yet, but like that was a big part of who she was and why she had such an impact on people, because they looked at her and they were like, wait, this is a woman who wears a suit on a red carpet. This is a woman who's not married. This is a woman who adopted kids when she was 50 years old. Like, Diane Keaton does whatever she wants to do. And that had a huge influence on a lot of younger women. So there are a lot of actresses who are influenced, there's a lot of actresses who cite Diane Keaton as their reason for wanting to become an actress, as their biggest inspiration, but also just a lot of regular people who looked at Diane Keaton as like an inspiration in their own lives to dress the way that they wanted to form an identity through their own sense of self.
It's totally important. I keep looking for
Chris,
male
thank you for the
figures
5 months.
to be her friend, to love her, and she does have some, and I think that it would be great if she had a father, of course. And I'm sorry I'm not married in that sense. I'm not sorry I'm not married in other aspects, which is the way I used to be sorry. Do you know, when I was younger, I would pity myself if I wasn't with some man, I'm sure. But now I don't feel that way at all. I don't think I could ever fall in love the way I did when I was younger.
I would think, though, that Diane, that you would intimidate a lot of guys. I mean, you know, you're very successful and you're very independent. You have this, you adopted a child on your own. You're a director now.
I think they just probably aren't attracted to me. I don't think it's about intimidation. I think they probably just aren't attracted to me. I think when you get older, you're not quite as attractive to as many people. How can you be? So therefore, I think, in a way, that's good. I can't have an exciting, complicated, tumultuous relationship. That wouldn't be good for my daughter, and it certainly wouldn't be good for me. So I have no interest in it. So I'm fine.
Oh man, she's so real. And the film that I have to mention too is not as good as it gets. Something's Gotta Give. So Something's Gotta Give, which is the film that she did with Jack Nicholson in 2003. And that film was huge because the studio did not want to nobody wanted to make that movie. They were like, there's no way that people will care about, will care to watch a film with romantic leads who are old. Like, there was definitely this ageist attitudes. There's this ageist attitude from studios towards that film. And then they did the movie and it was very successful. It was like one of her most successful films of the 2000s. And a lot of middle-aged women felt they fell in love with that movie. It meant a lot to them. It was something that people just hadn't really seen before. And you know, you have Diane Keaton, who is Diane Keaton, and having her be in a film like that with Jack Nicholson was like revolutionary. Revolutionary, because it proved that not only can older people have romance, but that a film depicting that is something that people want to watch. It wasn't even a matter of old people. It wasn't like the people who loved that film were all boomers. That film had that film had wide appeal, but in particular, a lot of middle-aged women who felt like they hadn't seen anyone close to their age depicted in a rom-com like that felt seen. Like, they really felt as if finally here's a film that I can relate to. Old people can fall in love too. So true. Okay, here is let's watch this video, or wait. Let's watch this one on Diane's style.
She's a Hollywood legend.
Diane, look at me, Diane.
And a style icon for generations.
La-di-da, la-di-da.
From baby boomers to Gen Z.
You know, these pocket computer photo albums are actually my job these days.
And now Diane Keaton is bringing her unique self to a new movie. In the cross-generational rom-com Mac and Rita.
Oh my God! Somebody help me! This is not me!
Keaton plays the glamorous 70-something Rita, who morphs from her 30-year-old self Mac after a mishap inside a dubious healer's tanning bed during a trip to Palm Springs.
I laid down in that pod, and when I came out, I was in this body!
How would you describe what happens to...
One of my favorite Diane Keaton moments ever on screen is anytime she's crashing out. She's like the queen of the crash out.
Mac that turns her into Rita.
An opportunity to be somebody else for the first time. An opportunity to fly away and do it and not be so contained.
And it happens in a tanning booth?
Yeah, it happens in a tanning booth where things are strange and new. Those are my likes.
Rita is dynamic, fun, and something of a social media influencer. Just like Keaton, the main inspiration for the viral Coastal Grandmother fashion aesthetic.
Starter pack.
A social media trend where millennial TikTokers like Lex Nicoletta idolize the breezy sense of style depicted in films
giving
like
Coastal
Something's Gotta
Grandmother.
Give.
What's with the turtlenecks? It's the middle of summer.
No, seriously, why do you care what I wear?
How does it make you feel that you are the face of fashion movement? From tweens on TikTok all the way up to your contemporaries.
I'm just surprised anybody would think about that at all.
Really?
It's nice. First of all, I like fashion. So, you know, I'm always curious about it, always interested in whatever style was going on. I'm more like, hey, that's interesting what you're wearing, like what you're wearing today.
I'm going for Coastal Grandson.
Oh, I see.
Anything you wear, by definition, is Coastal Grandmother.
Yeah, how did that begin, by the way?
On social media.
On social media, but how? Because
How does anything go viral? Because you are you. Did you have a say in what Rita wore on screen?
I think the other thing about Diane is that she was not an actress who really got plastic surgery in order to try and retain her youth, which no shade to women in Hollywood who get plastic surgery because of just the insane expectations on women to look perpetually young. But I think Diane always felt young. I think her way of retaining kind of a youthful feel was through her fashion, in the same way that Iris Apfel, who was the famous fashion icon who had the big black glasses, and she passed away last year at like 102. She was a woman who believed that fashion is the best way to still feel young and to just give off youthful vibes. She was absolutely a maximalist in her style. So she wore lots of bright colors, big patterns, but she had white hair. She had, she did not freeze her face to try and maintain her youth. She felt young through the way she dressed. And so I think with Diane, that style was such a big part of her identity, and how she just, she had such a freedom. She felt free, even if she was still a person who dealt with insecurities and whatnot, but she felt free because of how much she embraced her personal sense of style, which then was a big part of her sense of self.
Oh, yeah, sure. What'd you think? You don't care about what
Yes,
I
I
was
do.
wearing.
You
like women's fashion?
I like your fashion.
Look at him.
Everyone does. The core of Mac and Rita is a meditation on
Imitation brand, thank you
figuring
that I'm
out
on.
who you are,
right,
and living accordingly.
That's
How
right.
do you do that in your life?
Barely. Honestly, I live it really based on who my mother was and what she told me about life, what she gave to me about life. And so therefore, I plowed my way through. Do you know? I mean, I was nothing special.
Keaton's career spans over half a century and includes 4 Oscar nominations and 1 win.
There's something about you that transcends generations.
I don't feel like I've transcended anything particularly, except that I've been very fortunate to have many opportunities that came my way.
Not many people ever have met the moment for decades upon decades.
Well, yes, I'm fortunate. I don't know why.
You don't know why?
No.
For many Keaton fans, perhaps one of her most iconic roles was one of her first.
Michael, why did you come here? Why?
Kay in The Godfather.
I went to acting school, and then I had an audition for a movie, because like when you were at that time, you would audition for anything in order to get a job. So I found myself getting a job with The Godfather.
Yeah.
I was nobody. They didn't want Al, so they brought me up there and they put me with Al, and then Al got it.
And the rest was
yes,
history.
it
Here
was.
we are.
Well, hello. I'm Mac's Aunt Rita.
The 76-year-old is also reflective on her current role in Mac and Rita.
It was fantastic. First of all, it was a chick flick. We got to do all kinds of things that you usually don't have the opportunity to do. Everybody had a little story of their own. Mine was mine. And I just thought that was something you don't see very often.
Another part of the core of this movie is Mac is a 30-year-old woman searching for meaning and purpose. What would you now tell 30-year-old Diane Keaton?
I wouldn't do it. Because first of all, what made my life interesting was I had freedom, that I had the opportunity to make my choices with time as it went on. I wouldn't go back to the 30-year-old and here's how you do anything. For me, I'm sorry, but I just go back to my mother, to Dorothy Hall, to the greatest woman, to the person who gave me all these opportunities and who said, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And so that's what I did.
Keaton's legacy in film today officially etched in cement in Hollywood at the world-famous Chinese Theater.
I just feel very grateful.
An icon's image, imprinted among the legends of show business, on display for years to come.
I like her answer about not telling 30-year-old Diane Keaton anything, because that's the joy of life, is like making your decisions, and sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not great, but you have to live freely like that. And there's nothing to say to your younger self, because your younger self has to forge their path. They have to figure things out their own way. I would tell 30-year-old me the winning lottery numbers. Yeah, maybe that. Okay, Diane Keaton. Let's watch some moments from her career here. So I kind of put this in order, starting at the beginning of her